In the late 1990s, in the narrow streets of Haridwar, two men were trying to sell Chyawanprash on a bicycle. Poverty was so severe that sometimes they had to carry their products on their backs, walking from door to door. One of those men was Ramdev, and the other was his Nepali friend Balkrishna. At that time, nothing in their lives seemed ordinary. But everything changed in the early 2000s. With the arrival of religious television channels in India, Ramdev began appearing on programs where he taught yoga. And almost overnight, he became one of the most famous figures in the country. His shows made him a household name across India. Soon after, Ramdev founded Patanjali, which quickly became one of the fastest-growing companies in India. Within just a few years, Ramdev and Balkrishna built a fortune worth thousands of crores. Today, Patanjali's market value is estimated between 50,000 and 60,000 crore rupees, with ambitions to reach 1 lakh crore and eventually 5 lakh crore. But this is not just a success story. Behind the rise of Baba Ramdev lies a trail of dark secrets: vanished gurus, tax evasion scandals, false medical claims, and massive land grabs. This is not the story of an ordinary monk's spiritual journey. It's the story of how one sannyasi used religious faith and nationalism to build a billion-dollar empire. So the question remains, is Baba Ramdev truly a yoga guru or a billionaire fraud protected by the system? In the Mahendragarh district of Haryana, there is a small village called Sayyid Alipur. It was there, in 1965, that Ramdev was born. His real name was Ramkishan. For his education, he was sent to Gurukul Kalwa in the Jind district. It was here that his teacher, Acharya Baldev, gave him the name Ramdev. And that is how Ramkishan became Baba Ramdev. At the Gurukul, Ramdev's closest friend was a young Nepali Brahmin boy named Balkrishna. Balkrishna's father worked as a security guard in Haridwar. After completing his Gurukul studies, Balkrishna returned to Haridwar to live with his father. There, he met Acharya Kamvir. Kamvir came from a family that owned a transportation business. But instead of taking over his father's work, he chose the path of sannyasa, spiritual renunciation. Around 1988, Kamvir arrived in Haridwar and began pursuing a master's degree in yoga at Gurukul Kangri University. It is said that at his request, the university officially introduced a yoga diploma program in 1991. Kamvir had a clear vision: to bring yoga to the masses. A few years later, Ramdev joined Balkrishna in Haridwar and began living with Kamvir. Swami Kamvir taught Ramdev and Balkrishna yoga, not just the practice itself, but also how to teach large groups effectively. While staying with Kamvir, the two met Guru Shankadev, a respected teacher who lived in Haridwar's Kripalu Bagh ashram and owned some land there. During that time, Ramdev, Balkrishna, and Kamvir started making Chyawanprash at Tripura Yoga Ashram in the Kankal area of Haridwar, under the guidance of Swami Amalanand. Ramdev and Balkrishna would then take the products around Haridwar, selling them on a bicycle. This was between 1993 and 1995. The trio soon realized they needed more resources to grow. They spoke with Guru Shankadev and planned to acquire his ashram for their activities. Shankadev agreed. On January 5, 1995, Ramdev, Balkrishna, and Kamvir officially registered the Divya Yoga Mandir Trust in Kankal, Haridwar. Guru Shankadev was appointed as the guardian of the trust. Ramdev became the president, Acharya Kamvir the vice president, and Acharya Balkrishna the general secretary. The aim of the trust was to promote and teach practical yoga and pranayama to the public. Under Kamvir's mentorship, Ramdev had learned how to lead large yoga gatherings. While Ramdev and Kamvir focused on yoga, Balkrishna turned his attention to Ayurvedic medicine. In 1995, under the Divya Yoga Mandir Trust, they established Divya Pharmacy at Kripalu Ashram. The first production unit operated under a small tin shed within the ashram. A few Ayurvedic doctors were hired, and gradually, people from nearby villages began visiting the pharmacy for treatment. Ramdev's financial empire began to grow. Before long, his family moved to Haridwar. His brother, Ram Bharat, became the key man handling finances. Kripalu Ashram started to transform into a small industrial hub. Ramdev's bicycle turned into a Bajaj Chetak scooter, then a white Jeep, and eventually a Maruti car. Crowds started attending Ramdev and Karmveer's yoga camps. By the early 2000s, yoga was already gaining global attention, especially in the United States. According to journalist Kaushik Dekar in his book, The Baba Ramdev Phenomenon, by 2002, Ramdev's popularity had reached the political corridors of Delhi. That year, he organized a yoga camp for 10,000 people in the capital. His nationalist tone and traditional ideology naturally resonated with the BJP. Delhi's chief minister at the time, Sahib Singh Verma, attended the camp, as did Central Minister Murli Manohar Joshi from the Vajpayee government. These appearances helped Ramdev gain wider social and political acceptance. But the real explosion of Ramdev's fame came with the rise of religious television channels. Around 2000, India began to see the launch of multiple spiritual TV networks. At first, media experts doubted they would succeed, but as television access expanded across India, religious channels became household staples. According to a detailed report by Open magazine, the Ask the TV team was looking for new speakers. They met Baba Ramdev but didn't find anything special about him at the time, since he was still unknown outside Haridwar. They passed on him. However, Sanskar TV, Asta's rival channel, decided to give him a chance. Every morning at 6:45 a.m., Ramdev appeared on Sanskar TV for a 20-minute yoga segment. That short slot transformed him from a local teacher in Haridwar into a national celebrity. Ramdev had simplified yoga, adapting it into an accessible daisy style that anyone could practice at home. People no longer needed a trainer, a fee, or even to leave their houses. But the real explosion of Ramdev's fame came with the rise of religious television channels. Around 2000, India began to see the launch of multiple spiritual TV networks. At first, media experts doubted they would succeed. But as television access expanded across India, religious channels became household staples. According to a detailed report by Open magazine, the Ask the TV team was looking for new speakers. They met Baba Ramdev but didn't find anything special about him at the time, since he was still unknown outside Haridwar. They passed on him. However, Sanskar TV, Asta's rival channel, decided to give him a chance. Every morning at 6:45 a.m., Ramdev appeared on Sanskar TV for a 20-minute yoga segment. That short slot transformed him from a local teacher in Haridwar into a national celebrity. Ramdev had simplified yoga, adapting it into an accessible daisy style that anyone could practice at home. People no longer needed a trainer, a fee, or even to leave their houses. The crowds coming to Ramdev's camps were no longer there just for yoga. People from every corner of India, and even from abroad, were now flocking to Haridwar. The medicines sold by Ramdev's Divya pharmacy were bringing in millions of rupees. His products were selling out rapidly at every camp, and each day hundreds, even thousands of people were buying them. But there was something strange. For the 2004 to 2005 fiscal year, Ramdev's Divya pharmacy reported total sales of only 67,000 rupees. Yes, just 67,000 rupees for the entire year. It seemed like a joke, not only to journalists but also to the tax department. The investigative magazine Tehelka launched a deep inquiry into this. According to their report, the Uttarakhand commercial department grew suspicious after seeing the massive crowds at Ramdev's camps and the nationwide demand for his medicines. It was simply impossible for sales to be that low. The department requested shipment data from Haridwar post offices. What they found was shocking. In that same year, Divya Pharmacy had sent out 3,353 packages, weighing a total of 2,509 kilograms. Beyond that, Value Payable Post (VPP) parcels worth 1.3 million rupees were also dispatched. The pharmacy had even received 17,500 rupees in money orders. Based on this data, the Special Intelligence Bureau (SIB) of the Uttarakhand government's commercial department conducted a raid on Divya Pharmacy. What they discovered confirmed a large-scale sales tax evasion scheme. The department's then Deputy Commissioner, Jagdish Rana, told Tehelka magazine, "Until then, We also respected Ramdev ji for the good work he seemed to be doing, but as tax officers, it was clear to us that this was a case of theft. He went on to say, the case involved at least 5 crore rupees in sales tax evasion. Following the raid, the then governor of Uttarakhand, Sudarshan Agarwal, was furious. He demanded a full report from the government. The state's chief finance secretary, Indu Kumar Pandey, sent a report confirming that the raid was both impartial and necessary. Narayan Dutt Tiwari, the chief minister and Congress leader at the time, added a note personally affirming the same. The investigation was justified and fair. But then, strange things began to happen. According to Tehelka's report, several Uttarakhand officials admitted that Rana faced enormous political pressure after the raid. The pressure became so intense that he was eventually forced into early retirement, 4 years ahead of schedule. And after that, neither the central government nor the state government ever again conducted a single raid on Ramdev's ashrams or trusts. Tehelka's investigation was later published by Dainik Bhaskar, one of India's largest newspapers, and even today, that report remains available on their website. But the tax evasion methods didn't stop there. Tehelka reported that underreporting sales was only a small part of a much larger system. Documents obtained by their journalists showed that Divya Pharmacy had transferred around 17,000 rupees worth of medicines to Divya Yoga Mandir Trust, which was also managed by Baba Ramdev. However, in their tax filings, the pharmacy claimed these medicines had been distributed for free to the poor and needy. Officials from the Commercial Tax Department, however, stated that these same medicines were sold through Divya Yoga Mandir Trust in Kankal, not given away. This wasn't a bookkeeping mistake. It was a systematic tax evasion operation. Ramdev's organization was hiding behind a religious trust, using the mask of charity to evade millions in taxes. And the most astonishing part? No one stopped him. The government stayed silent. The media stayed silent. And the most astonishing part? No one stopped him. The government stayed silent. The media stayed silent. Society stayed silent. Because by then, Ramdev was no longer just a yoga teacher. He was untouchable. A sannyasi involved in such a massive tax evasion scandal, walking away without consequence, revealed not only how powerful Ramdev had become, but also how deeply broken the system truly was. And this was only the beginning. The scandals were just getting started. Cracks had begun to form within Ramdev's organization. Acharya Kamvir, once one of Ramdev's closest allies, had grown increasingly uncomfortable with how things were changing. The yoga camps, which had once been free and open to all, were now paid events, and money had become the center of everything. Even worse, Ramdev, who had taken the vows of sannyasa, renouncing worldly attachments and his family, had now brought his family back into the fold. His brother Ram Bharat was the one handling all the finances and had full control over the money. On March 25, 2005, while the rest of India was celebrating Holi, Acharya Kamvir left the Kripalu Bagh ashram. He walked away with nothing, no possessions, no money, and never returned. But the real shock came on July 14, 2007. Guru Shankardev, Ramdev's spiritual teacher, suddenly disappeared from the ashram. He had gone out for his usual morning walk and never came back. What happened to Shankardev? Where did he go? To this day, those questions remain unanswered. When Shankardev vanished, Ramdev was in Chicago, USA, on a tour. In Hindu tradition, the guru is everything, even more important than one's own parents. But Ramdev did not cut his trip short. He returned only 3 weeks later, held a press conference, and spoke emotionally about how his guru had been like a father to him. A year later, Balkrishna founded Patanjali Ayurved Limited. Officially, 94% of the company's shares were in Balkrishna's name. Ramdev himself held no stake on paper, but in reality, he controlled the entire empire. And as for Guru Shankardev, he became nothing more than a missing file in India's forgotten archives. In 2022, the Indian Express uncovered a massive scandal, the George Everest estate loot. The Uttarakhand government had opened a tender for the historic George Everest estate in Mussoorie. The plan was to lease 122 acres of land, along with its museum and facilities, for 15 years. 3 companies submitted bids: Prakriti Organics, 51 lakh rupees; Barwa Agri Science, 65 lakh rupees; Rajas Aerosports, 1 crore rupees. The winner? Rajas Aerosports. But when the Indian Express investigated, they discovered something shocking. All 3 companies were owned by the same person, Acharya Balkrishna. The bidding rules were crystal clear. Participating companies must not be connected in any way. But that rule had been blatantly violated. The competition was fake. The tender was fake. And what happened after this revelation? Absolutely nothing. Government officials shrugged it off, saying, "No issue here." Under the lease, the government will earn only 15 crore rupees over 15 years, even though it had already invested 23.5 crore rupees into the property. A clear case of public theft, right under the government's nose. And the mainstream media? Completely silent. Why? Because Ramdev's companies spend millions of rupees on advertising. Criticizing him means losing ad revenue. So everyone stayed quiet. And that wasn't the only controversy. Back in April 2005, 115 workers at Ramdev's factory were fired after demanding better working conditions. Some even alleged that human and animal bones were being used in the medicines. Communist leader Brinda Karat took up the issue, but instead of becoming a fight for labor rights, it was turned into a Brinda Karat versus Baba Ramdev political drama. Leaders from every major party rushed to support Ramdev. And the workers, the very people who raised their voices, were forgotten. In December 2006, Ramdev made his boldest claim yet. He said he could cure AIDS. The National AIDS Control Organization criticized him, but no one stopped him. By then, Ramdev had become untouchable. In 2006, he began building a media empire. He bought Ask the Channel for 16 crore rupees. Today, Vedic Broadcasting owns dozens of religious channels. Ramdev slowly moved into opposition against the Congress and drew closer to the BJP and RSS. He launched the Bharat Swabhiman movement and campaigned against black money and corruption. But accusations followed him too. Purchases of land in fake names with black money. Tehelka magazine wrote in 2011 that people like Gagan Kumar, who earned 8,000 rupees a month, somehow ended up with land worth millions of rupees as assistants to Balkrishna. Where did the money come from? In October 2012, the CBI opened an inquiry into Shankardev's disappearance. At the time, Ramdev was attacking the Congress, and the Congress was investigating him. But in May 2014, the government changed. Modi became Prime Minister, the CBI issued a closure report, and the Shankardev case was shelved. Analysts told the Hindustan Times that investigative agencies treated high-profile groups leniently because of close ties to the Modi government. After 2014, Patanjali exploded. Between 2012 and 2016, revenue grew tenfold in 4 years. Balkrishna became a billionaire. While many other companies could not grow by 10%, Patanjali doubled or more every year. A company that earned 13 crore rupees in 2009 reported 45,000 crore rupees in revenue by 2022. Today, Ramdev and Balkrishna owned thousands of acres and billions of rupees. A story that began with selling Chyawanprash from a bicycle turned into an empire worth billions in a decade. How did they do it? They exploited 3 things perfectly: Sanatan Dharma, patriotism, and manipulation tied to those themes. The media cannot criticize because it depends on advertising. The government does not act because the connections are powerful, and the public still calls him Baba. Perhaps the biggest scandal is this. Even with the facts in plain sight, no one raises their voice. Ramdev's story teaches a lesson. Under the cover of religion and nationalism, with the right connections and media power, scandals can be hidden. Missing gurus, tax evasion, land grabs. None of it matters if the system protects you. You become untouchable.